Hello and welcome back to another video session of Unity Games Development Part 9. In this session you will learn the two transform functions variations, which is Transform.translate and Transform.rotate functions. We will also understand what is vector 3 and how to write a vector 3 code in Unity script. Let's head back to Unity and understand these concepts. So first of all, what I'm going to do, you remember we created the cube game object, the cube game object over here, and we created the C# script as well. I'm going to open this C# script for this cube. Let me get rid of the entire code which I have written before. I'm going to delete this code as we are going to start with the new code over here. So I want to just make my script clean. Now as you remember guys, we need two basic, you can say, are mandatory functions over here. Not mandatory, at least you can start with. The first one is, you remember, the start function, the start, and the second one is the update function. So these two methods are required. Even by the way, I'm not going to use the start function right now, so let me just get rid of this. I'll be only using the update function. Now here inside this update function we will be coding this Unity script. Now what is my objective here? So we are going to understand this transform function, transform.translate function and rotate function. Our objective is, when we press the up arrow key or the down arrow key from the keyboard, we want to move this object, which is cube. We want to move it up, left and right actually. So we want to move, in other words, you can say on the Z axis actually. So for this reason, to move an object, we need to declare two variables. To move an object, we need to declare a variable. So I'm going to declare a speed variable, which is going to be public float, and I'm going to call it here move speed is equal to, and the initial speed or the default speed will be 10f. Now our objective is, when we press the up arrow key or the down arrow key, we want to move this cube game object, in other words, on the Z axis. So we will be using the condition over here. When we press the up arrow key, then move the cube 1 frame per second on Z axis. So here we will be using the condition if input dot get key down key code dot up arrow. You can see this up arrow. So what we want to do now, when we press the up arrow key, we want to move the cube game object 1 frame per second. So what will be the code here? So we can use the transform dot translate function, and this translate function will help us. Look, if you see, the transform.translate function will accept the vector 3 over here. Now the vector 3 component we use in script to address x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. So I'm going to create a new vector 3 over here, new space vector 3, open parenthesis again. Now this vector 3 is going to accept three components from us, which is going to be float, x, y and z. If you see, I'm going to use the third options for this vector 3, which is float x, float y and float z. Now here I'm not interested to move my object into x-axis or into y-axis, so the object is going to be moved on z-axis. So I'm going to press 1, so it is going to move this game object 1 frame per second. Let me save this code and see, let's see how the output works. So if I open the Unity again, so let's run this code and see the output of this function. Now if I click on this play button, my game is in play mode. If I press the up arrow key, so if I press the up arrow key, you can observe my game object is moving. But if I press the down arrow key, it is not coming back. So let's go back and code for the down arrow as well. But remember one thing over here which is very important, it is going to move 1 frame per second. Now this frame rate is different on different computers, and we will be getting a different kind of behavior on different computers. What if we want to move this this cube on a constant speed? We will also look into it. So I'm going to add one more condition over here. If input dot get key down and key code dot down arrow, this time if we press the down arrow key, we want to move our vector downwards, means on the z-axis we want to move in a negative direction. So Transform.translate, same function we will be using, new vector 3, and again vector 3 will be taking three components from us, x-axis 0, y-axis 0, on z-axis what will be the logic? I hope you guys have guessed it correct. The logic will be -1, so it should move -1, you can say, measurement in the given time frame or in the given frame rate. So it is going to move on z-axis negative. Positive ones means it will move towards your right side. Negative one means it is going to move in the left side direction. So let me just save my script, head back to Unity, and let's see the behavior. Now if I press the up arrow key, see it is moving forward. If I press the down arrow key, look, it is moving backward. So my game object is moving forward and backward. But there is a problem. The problem is this game object is moving backward and forward based on the frame rate. And as I mentioned before, the frame rate of different computers are different, and it is not gonna give us, you can say, a very good kind of performance on different computers. In order to get the same kind of performance in all computers, we need to make some changes in our code. Let me open my script. Before that, let me just stop my program also. So now instead of writing this code in this way, there is another alternate to new vector 3. We can use, let me just put a comment over here, we can use vector 3 dot forward function, which is equivalent to this vector 3 dot forward is equivalent to vector 3 0 0 1, which is equivalent to this actually. So let me go back and let me delete this line of code, and what we will be typing here, we will be typing vector 3 dot forward. Now we need to give the speed. What will be the speed of this game object? So as we declared one move speed game object already in our script, so we will be giving the reference to this variable actually. So times move speed. Now again it is going to move 1 frame per second. So in order to move this game object 1 meter per second, we need to add times time dot delta time. When you add this component time dot delta time, it is going to move cube game object 1 meter per second. Let me copy this code here, Control C and Control V. I'm going to paste it over here on the down arrow part as well, paste it over here, but this time remember vector 3 dot forward, it is going to move forward in our right direction. What if we want to move it to the left direction? So there should be a negative value for this, -1. So in order to bring this negative effect, we can put minus sign over here. So it means it is going to move in -1 direction. The z-axis will be -1, so which is an alternate. So you can use the minus keyword, the minus symbol over here as well. Let me save my code and see the output. Look at this. Now if I press the up arrow key, my object is moving forward, okay, and if I press down arrow key, it is moving backward, and it is moving meter per second with the speed of. So I hope it is clear now. Let's understand the second part of this video session, which is Translate.rotate function. Suppose I want to rotate my cube game object, okay. In order to rotate this cube game object, we need to declare one more variable over here, which is going to be the turn speed. So let me just write comments over here. Variable to turn the cube game object. So it is going to be public float turn speed is equal to, initially the turn speed is 100. Right now we are keeping. So what we want, whenever we press the left and the right arrow keys, now we want to rotate the cube game object. So let me put a comment also over here. Press the left arrow or right arrow to rotate the cube game object. If input dot get key down key code dot left arrow this time. So this time we will be using Transform.rotate function. Now how to rotate this? Again, if we are interested to rotate this, we can use the function called vector 3 dot up multiply by turn speed. Okay, let's check it without time dot delta time and see the behavior first, and then we will be adding the next code. So let me complete this code over here. So if input dot get key down key code dot right arrow we will be using Transform.rotate vector 3 dot up times. Now here the turn speed, this is slightly different than the forward function here. the turn speed we need to make it negative actually. So here this turn speed is positive and this is gonna be negative over here to rotate it in the different direction or opposite direction here. So that's the code here. And one more thing, friends, remember this cube game object is a non-physics game object. We have not attached any rigid body component to it. So remember, this code will work if the cube game object is not having rigid body component, then it is going to work, because if you have attached the rigid body component to this cube, then this code will not work. We need some different code in order to rotate and in order to move the game object. So remember this thing. So let's open the Unity and see the output. This time I'm going to press the left and the right arrow key from the keyboard to rotate this game object. See, it is rotating now, and I can rotate in all directions, left and the right direction, you can see. So this is how it is going to work. Similarly, this is going to rotate based on the frames per second. If you are interested to rotate it meter per second, or sorry, in per second speed, then you need to add time.delta time. So make changes in the code, add, multiply by time.delta time. Over here as well, multiply by time.delta time. Save it, run. This time the rotation speed may not be very quick. The reason being is frame per second, sorry, according to the time, like seconds instead of frames. So if I rotate, yeah, I can see this rotation is working very fine, but the speed is little bit slow. If you want to increase the rotation speed more, then you can increase the turn speed variable. Increase the value and you can see the effect over here. So increase the value of this turn speed variable, make it 250, 300, 400, 500, and see how it is going to work. So in this video session we learned how to move a game object using vector 3 and how to rotate a game object also. And remember, this cube game object does not have the component of rigid body, so make sure the cube game object is not, let me just show you, this cube game object should not have a rigid body component over here attached to it, otherwise this code will not work. So for rigid body components we need slight modification in the code in order to move and in order to rotate the game object. So try all these things. I'll see you in the next video.